What is going on, guys? It is your boy here, the combat consultant, of course, the soundboard god, Jacob Koopman, and we've got to talk about the razor-thin, controversial decision between high-tech Vasily Lomachenko and Devin Haney. Now, this was an absolute back-and-forth war. I just watched the fight again. To get more context in what a lot of people thought was an absolute robbery, I looked at it again. I've got some of my thoughts written down on a Google Doc about how I felt that each fighter fared, and just some turning points in the fight I thought were important. So let's get into it. So I thought a big deciding factor in this fight was the distance that each fighter kept. I noticed that when Lomachenko got inside on Devin Haney, there wasn't much that Haney could do to stop Loma's offense. It seemed like when he got his volume going and he could utilize his angles, his volume, and Haney couldn't really go anywhere, so he just had to keep his kind of guard up. That's when Loma shined the most. There was also 3 rounds towards the end of the fight, round 10, round 11, and round 12, that we'll talk about later, that I thought personally swung Loma this fight. But for now, I want to talk about earlier on in the fight. That's rounds 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now, I thought that both men fought really well, and it's clear that each had a game plan coming into this. Loma's was to pressure and put volume and pace on Haney. Haney, knowing that, devised seemingly a plan with his team to say, hey, we're not going to try to match Loma's intensity, his volume, or his pace. And I thought that was very smart. He kind of stayed on the outside, long boxing range, and would pick Loma off, use his physicality, so that whenever Loma tried to come in, he would I saw he would throw that body hook a lot, and that's kind of the shot that he was intercepting Loma with. I thought it was smart how early in the fight, he was really diversifying his attack. He was going to the body, going upstairs, setting up shots nicely. When the fight was in open distance, that's when Devin Haney had the most success out of the entirety of the fight. Obviously, a big aspect of Loma's game is the angling that he likes to do. He'll throw straight punches, but from an angle to where you can't return fire. And that's one of the things that makes him so unique and one of the most skilled boxers of our generation. But what Haney did to address that this fight, which I thought was very smart, was whenever Loma would try to cut with an angle, Haney would use his jab and his physicality to mirror Loma and stay with him. The commentators had mentioned during the fight that Loma's accuracy and shots attempted were down from his other fights, and I do believe that's because Haney took away one of his biggest weapons. That's not to say that Loma didn't utilize his offense well, because he certainly did, right? He was the much busier fighter between the two of them. I just feel like when Haney would land, each shot would count 3 times as much as one Loma shot. So for instance, Loma would come in, get Haney against the ropes, unload with a 5-shot combo, utilizing a lot of wide shots, hooks, and Haney would answer back with one body hook. Right? And that one body hook, at least earlier on in the fight, again, we'll get to these later rounds in a second, but one of those body hooks seemed to affect Loma in a huge way. I thought for what it was worth, Haney was the smarter fighter. And I think that was a great way to kind of cut down on the speed advantage and the angling advantage that Loma had. You fight smart, you stay behind that jab, that really interrupts guys' rhythm. And Loma, with his footwork, with his volume, with his combinations, is heavily reliant on his rhythm to get him going. As for the fight itself, up until, I'm going to say, the 9th round, it was super duper hard to score. That's why I'm not really too enraged by what people say with the robbery and this, that, the third. I thought it could have gone either way realistically. Where that changed for me was, again, those 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th rounds, where I really thought that Lomachenko took charge. Now, obviously, I wasn't in there, so I can't speak to the reason why Devin Haney slowed down seemingly in those last rounds. Exhaustion is one likely factor. Some of those shots from Loma really getting through could have also been a big variable. But I also noticed that in Haney's corner, I believe it was before round 10, his father had mentioned to him, and they picked it up on commentary, that he thought that Haney was winning this fight. And I do wonder if that had something to do with the ferocity that was taken out of Haney those last rounds. Because Loma took charge. He was backing Haney down. He was landing his shots. Haney didn't really have the same pop behind his counters. He wasn't making Loma pay in a big way like he was earlier in the fight. And I thought that Loma did a really good job at picking up on the fact that Haney was acting a little bit more meek as the fight progressed and really taking advantage of his inaction. You know, if I had to swing this fight a certain way, I would definitely go Lomachenko, but I could easily see how Haney's early work would cancel out those last 4 rounds because it was so razor thin. On an eye test, I had Haney winning those earlier 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 rounds. And I honestly wouldn't mind a rematch just with how competitive that fight was and how fun both guys are to watch. I mean, take all of the controversy out of the equation. That fight was some of the best decision-making, speed, athleticism, and shot selection we've seen at the top level of boxing in a while. But that's my thoughts on the fight. Please do let me know what you think down in the comment section below. It has been your boy, the combat consultant, the soundboard god, Jacob Koopman. I'll see you all in the next video. Deuces.